He woke up to the smell of wet earth and smoke. His head ached, and the stars above were strange, larger than any he had seen from the cockpit of his ship. The crash had been rough, the hull twisted, and he had crawled out barely alive. His uniform was torn, his boots muddy, and his hands scratched from climbing out of the wreckage. The planet around him was alive with color he had never imagined. Trees towered over him like giants, their leaves shimmering with faint bioluminescent glow. The air was thick, sweet, and heavy with the scent of unknown flowers. Somewhere in the distance an animal screamed, a sound that was half roar, half whistle. He did not have time to be afraid. He needed to find shelter, water, and a way to communicate with whoever might be here. The problem was that he had no idea what here was. His ship had been thrown into uncharted space. The navigation systems were fried and the communications array was silent. He was alone. As he walked, the ground beneath him shifted. Strange vines, thick and spongy, wrapped around the trees and reached like hands. He stepped carefully, noticing the subtle sounds around him. The leaves whispered in the wind, and every shadow seemed to move with a life of its own. He had trained for this, years of survival exercises in deserts, jungles, and mountain ranges. But this was unlike anything he had prepared for. Hours passed, or maybe it was minutes. Time felt different here. Then in a sudden clearing he saw them. The village was carved into the cliffside, smooth stone walls covered in carvings and symbols. Smoke rose from chimneys shaped like spirals, and small figures moved among the paths. His heart quickened. The villagers were not human. They were tall, with lean, muscular bodies and skin that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Their armor was sleek and fitted, and in their hands were long spears tipped with metal that gleamed even in the twilight. He froze, unsure whether to step forward or hide. Then, without warning, a dozen spears flew at him at once. The first pierced the air just above his shoulder. The second barely missed his head. He ducked, rolled, and twisted, narrowly avoiding the third. Every move felt instinctive, a perfect blend of human reflex and training. Spear after spear whistled past him. He dodged, jumped, and ducked, never once panicking. The villagers watched, eyes wide, mouths open. This human moved like no one they had ever seen. When the last spear flew past, he landed lightly, breathing evenly, his heart pounding but controlled. He looked around. The warriors had stopped, frozen in astonishment. He raised a hand, offering no threat, only a simple greeting with a calm smile. "Hello," he said. The village elder stepped forward. He was taller than the rest, with a cloak of feathers and markings along his arms. His voice was deep and commanding. "You are the first outsider to reach us in many cycles," he said. "You are human. You move with skill, but here, skill alone is not enough. Every stranger must earn their place or face exile." The human nodded. "I don't want trouble. I just want to survive." The elder studied him, eyes narrowing. "Survival is simple. Understanding, courage, and honor are harder. You will face a test. If you pass, you may remain among us. If you fail..." He paused, and the meaning was clear. Death was an option, or at the very least being cast into the wilds of the forest. The human swallowed, aware that this was a trial like none he had faced before. The warriors behind the elder readied their spears again. This time it would not be just dodging. This was a test of endurance, intelligence, and creativity. The human adjusted his stance. He was ready. The first spear came faster than before. He sidestepped and used a low-hanging branch to vault over it. The second came from his right, and he rolled beneath it, the tip slicing through the grass just inches above his face. The villagers murmured among themselves, their whispers like wind through leaves. The human noticed patterns in their attacks, subtle cues in their movement. He began to anticipate, using the landscape to his advantage. Rocks, vines, and even the uneven ground became part of his strategy. As he dodged and weaved, he began to understand the rhythm of the trial. It was not just about reflexes. It was about reading the opponent, predicting their moves, and responding with creativity. The human's mind, trained in countless drills, simulations, and real combat scenarios, adapted quickly. He smiled to himself. He was enjoying the challenge. One of the warriors tried to circle him, but the human spotted him and shifted his weight, causing the attacker to stumble. Another spear came from above, and he grabbed a low branch, swinging to avoid it, landing behind a boulder. He was moving like water, flowing around obstacles, and the villagers watched in awe. Finally, after what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, the last spear flew past him, He landed softly and the forest fell silent. The elder approached once more, walking carefully among the villagers. "You have survived the first wave," he said. "Few outsiders ever do. But surviving is only part of the test. Now you must prove that you can take the initiative. You must show that courage and strategy can match raw skill." The human straightened, dusting himself off. He looked at the warriors, then at the elder. "My turn," he said, his voice steady, calm, and confident. He had no idea what would happen next, but he knew that he was capable. For the first time since crashing on this planet, he felt a spark of hope. The elder nodded slightly, a small smile crossing his face. "Very well," he said. "Show us what you can do, human." The human took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. Around him, the forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting. He looked at the villagers, at the warriors, and then at the path ahead. The human did not just survive, he was about to change the game. He started forward, careful and deliberate, studying the opponents. The first warrior lunged, spear aimed at his chest, but he sidestepped and used the momentum to push the attacker past him. Another tried to flank him, and he spun, using his hands and feet to deflect the spear without harming the warrior. Each move was calculated, each dodge precise. The villagers gasped. They had never seen a human fight like this. Not with brute strength, not with speed alone, but with strategy, observation, and quick thinking. The human began to weave between the warriors, using their own formations against them. He moved like a shadow, unpredictable yet fluid. And each strike or dodge made the warriors reconsider their approach. One warrior attacked with a high thrust, aiming for his shoulder. The human ducked and grabbed a fallen branch, using it to knock the spear aside and push the warrior backward. Another swung from the left, and he rolled under the arm, using a small rock to trip the attacker. He never struck with the intent to harm seriously. This was a test, and he respected the rules of the village. The elder watched closely, nodding with approval. "He does not fight to kill," he murmured to himself. "He fights to survive, to demonstrate his skill, his mind, his courage." The human knew he could not rely on strength alone. The warriors were strong, fast, and trained in ways he had never seen. But he had something unique: human creativity and adaptability. He used the environment to his advantage, climbing rocks, swinging from vines, and even using shadows to hide and reposition himself. Every move was unexpected, and the warriors struggled to predict his next action. Finally, the human stood in the center of the clearing, breathing evenly, his eyes scanning the group. The warriors paused, recognizing his skill and ingenuity. The elder stepped forward, smiling faintly. "You have survived and demonstrated more than skill," he said. "You have shown courage, intelligence, and honor. Few outsiders earn even this much respect." The human nodded, feeling relief wash over him. He had passed the first trial, but he knew this was only the beginning. The village was a place of warriors, and earning their trust would require more than just surviving a spear attack. He had to prove that humans were more than fragile creatures of flesh and bone, that they were capable of courage, innovation, and strength beyond expectation. He looked around at the alien faces, some curious, some cautious, all watching him closely. He gave a small smile. "Thank you," he said simply, though he knew words alone would not earn their full trust. Actions mattered, and he was ready to show them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest, the human prepared for the next challenge. The warriors moved silently around him, assessing, waiting. He was ready, and deep inside he felt something he had not felt in a long time: hope. Even lost in an unknown world, surrounded by warriors unlike any he had seen, he knew one thing clearly: humans were not so easily defeated. And this village, no matter how dangerous, was about to witness exactly what humanity was capable of. The human stood in the center of the clearing, his chest rising and falling steadily. The warriors who had thrown the spears now circled him, their eyes sharp, bodies tense, ready to strike at a moment's notice. The elder had stepped back, watching intently, as if observing a new type of predator or perhaps a student who might surpass his teachers. The forest was quiet except for the soft whisper of leaves in the wind. Every movement, every sound seemed amplified. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly. There was no fear, only focus. He had survived the first challenge, but this was different. Now he had to show initiative. He had to demonstrate not just survival, but the ability to act decisively. His training, his instincts, and the creativity that humans were known for had brought him this far. It was time to take the next step. The first warrior lunged, Spear aimed straight at his chest, the human sidestepped, letting the attacker's momentum carry him forward. Instead of retreating, he grabbed a fallen branch and swung it lightly, not to injure but to unbalance. The warrior stumbled and the human rolled past him, ready for the next move. The other warriors adjusted their strategy, no longer attacking all at once, but circling, trying to trap him. He smiled faintly. This was exactly what he had hoped for. A human's strength was not in raw power. It was in observation, anticipation, and adaptation. He used the shadows of trees to obscure his movements, sliding behind rocks and climbing low-hanging branches to change levels. The warriors were skilled, but they had never faced someone who turned the environment into a weapon and shield. One of the taller warriors swung a spear from above, aiming for the human's head. The human ducked and kicked a nearby rock, sending it rolling into the warrior's path. The attacker shifted his footing and lost balance just enough for the human to maneuver around him. Another spear came from the left, and the human used a low vine to swing himself behind the attacker, tapping the shoulder to distract before leaping away. Every movement was precise, calculated, and efficient. The villagers watched in awe. They had never seen a human move like this. Not like a predator, not like a machine, but something that combined instincts, intelligence, and creativity. Even the elder's eyes widened slightly, a rare expression of surprise on his face. The human began to change the rhythm of the battle. He was no longer just dodging. He was guiding the warrior's movements. By feinting, by drawing attention to one side, he forced them to overcommit. When a warrior lunged too far forward, he rolled under the arm, then nudged the attacker into another warrior, causing a small collision that gave him an opening. The forest became a chessboard, and the human moved like a master player, anticipating several moves ahead. One warrior attempted a direct strike with a heavy spear. Thinking raw strength could overcome strategy, the human caught the spear in midair with a quick swipe of the branch he carried, twisting it to redirect the momentum. The warrior stumbled backward, confused and impressed. Another tried to flank him, but the human had already calculated the approach, pivoting to face both threats at once. The elder nodded slowly. "Clever," he muttered under his breath. "He uses the mind as much as the body, perhaps more." The human could feel the energy of the village around him, their curiosity, their tension, their admiration growing with every move he made. But he knew this was not just about impressing them. It was about proving a truth he had carried since childhood. Humans were capable of incredible resilience, of ingenuity and courage even in unfamiliar worlds. He began to take calculated risks, moving faster, exploiting every small opening. A warrior swung a spear low and he leapt over it, spinning midair to knock the weapon out of reach. Another aimed from above, and he used a fallen tree trunk as a ramp to vault behind the attacker. His movements were fluid, unpredictable, and precise. The warriors tried to coordinate, but the human's adaptability kept them on the defensive. They had never faced someone who could think and act so quickly, whose mind could adapt to every change in the battle as fast as his body. Every feint, every trick, every dodge was a lesson in human ingenuity. At one point, a warrior tried a new tactic, two attackers coming from opposite directions, hoping to trap him. The human paused for the briefest moment, calculated the angle of approach, and then acted. He ducked under one spear while spinning to deflect the other with his branch, then pushed off a boulder to roll between them, coming up behind another warrior. Each move flowed into the next seamlessly, a dance of strategy, reflex, and courage. The villagers gasped in unison, recognizing that the human was not just surviving, he was teaching, showing them something new. Some of the younger warriors whispered to each other, awed and inspired. Even those who had doubted him could no longer hide their admiration. Finally, the human stood in the center of the clearing once more, breathing evenly, his eyes scanning the group. The warriors had stopped, realizing that he was more than a survivor. He was a force unlike any they had faced, a human who combined mind and body, courage and creativity, skill and intuition. The elder stepped forward again, nodding slowly. "You have survived the trial," he said, his voice deep and steady. "You have not only shown skill and courage, but also intelligence and honor. Few outsiders could do what you have done. Even fewer could turn our own strategies against us and survive unscathed." The human bowed slightly in respect. "I am grateful for the challenge," he said. "I only hope to learn more from you all and to earn your trust." The elder smiled faintly. "Trust is earned, and you have taken the first step. We will watch, and in time we may come to respect you fully. For now you are welcome among us as long as you continue to show honor and wisdom." The human nodded, relief and pride washing over him. He had come to an unknown world, lost and alone, and now he had found not just safety but respect. He had proven that even in a place dominated by alien skill and strength, human courage and intelligence could hold their own, and even inspire admiration. Over the next hours he walked among the villagers, observing their routines, learning their ways. He saw how they trained from a young age, how they valued discipline, community, and honor. He learned their language slowly, their gestures, their rules of combat and etiquette. In return, he shared human tactics, simple strategies that made use of creativity, observation, and problem-solving rather than brute force alone. The villagers listened, fascinated. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet, the human stood atop a cliff overlooking the village. He breathed deeply, feeling the alien wind against his face. He had been lost, disoriented, and unsure if he would survive this planet. Now he had allies, a place to rest, and a chance to learn. More importantly, he had proven something to himself and to those who doubted humanity, that humans could survive, adapt, and thrive, even in the most unexpected challenges. The elder joined him silently. Together, they watched as the village prepared for the night. "Few outsiders show such skill," the elder said quietly. "Fewer still show courage and respect. You are different, human. You remind us that strength is not only measured by muscle but also by mind, heart, and spirit." The human nodded, feeling the weight of the words. He had survived, yes, but he had also earned the beginning of a bond, a bridge between species, between worlds, and between understanding. He had entered a village of warriors as a stranger, faced death and challenge, and emerged not just alive but respected. He looked out over the forest, thinking of the journey ahead. There would be more trials, more lessons, more tests of courage and intelligence, but he was ready. Humans had survived against impossible odds before, and here on this strange, vibrant planet, they would do it again. As night fell, the forest came alive with glowing plants and creatures that moved in the darkness. The human felt a sense of belonging he had not expected. He had arrived lost and alone, but he had found purpose and respect. Here among alien warriors, he was not just a survivor. He was a human, a creature of courage, wit, and determination. And he had earned a place where few outsiders ever could. The elder placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Rest, human. Tomorrow the training begins. You will learn more than you can imagine, and we will learn from you as well. Together we may become stronger than any one species alone." The human smiled, feeling the first true sense of hope since the crash. "I look forward to it," he said. "I have much to learn and I have much to share. Let's see what we can do together." And as he settled for the night, listening to the quiet hum of alien life all around him, he knew one thing with certainty. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile, and they were not easily defeated. They adapted, they survived, and when necessary, they inspired respect. On this strange new world, that truth would shine brighter than any star he had ever known.